What's up, guys? It's Sunday, March 1st, and I'm going to recap last night's UFC Mexico City card. I got to be honest, I wanted to do this last night, but if you guys been watching me all week, I've been just really dealing with something, man. I don't know what was going on. I took some medicine last night before the main card started, and the last thing I remember was Bobby King Green stopping Daniel Selhuber. And then I woke up this morning with the TV still on Paramount Plus. So I had to get up this morning, went to church, came back home, rewatched the co-main and the main event. And I gotta be honest, when I woke up and I saw the results, that Lonnie Kavanaugh beat Moreno, and everyone was just so hyped on Kavanaugh, and I was like, wow, what a fucking upset, you know? So I watched the fight. So I'm just going to jump into the rundown. I'm going to start with the main event, Moreno versus Kavanaugh in Mexico City. And right from the jump, the very first round, Kavanaugh looked great. He looked slick. He was popping that jab. He was eating up the calf of Brandon Moreno. Big calf kicks, big jabs, like sharp jab. He looked so clean in the boxing department. He had that spinning back kick that hit Moreno. You could tell Moreno was really wearing those calf kicks early. I scored the first round for Kavanaugh, 10-9 for Kavanaugh. Second round, Lonnie Kavanaugh lands a big left hook that hurts Brandon Moreno. He's jumping all over him. I thought he was going to stop him in the second round. He had Moreno in all kinds of trouble. Moreno stepped back too. You could tell he was so out of it that he like slips, posts both hands on the ground, then gets back up, and Kavanaugh is keep coming forward with the pressure, landing big shots. Of course, I scored that round 10-9, but I thought maybe one of the judges possibly... one of the judges was Sal D'Amato, who is a boxing judge. He's been a boxing judge for a long time. I thought he would have scored it maybe a 10-8, depending, because he did land maximum damage in that second round. But I had it at 10-9. And then into the third round, things really started to change. You could see the output of Kavanaugh really decrease by a big margin. He wasn't throwing as much. Brandon Moreno did a really good job of minimizing damage and using his grappling, that front lead leg, single leg, because Brandon fights out of conventional style, and Kavanaugh was fighting out of, when he would switch to southpaw, he would grab up that front leg. Brandon wouldn't. He would put him against the cage, and he really used the grappling, the fence side grappling to his advantage. He would get a body lock from head to head. He would use the crown of his head and put it under the jaw of Lonnie Kavanaugh to turn his head away, right? He was landing some really good knees inside to the right quad of Lonnie Kavanaugh, and then when he turned him, he would chuck him over and he would start landing big knees to the left, behind the left quad of Lonnie Kavanaugh. They're not fight-stopping shots, but he had control time, he minimized damage, and he was doing damage to Kavanaugh. It wasn't big damage, but he was doing damage. So all three judges had 10-9 for Moreno in the third round, as I did. But you could tell between those rounds, I think it was between the second and the third, Brandon looked like a little dejected. I'm not going to lie. And Brandon is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC right now. But he looked like he was wearing it bad after that second round, because Kavanaugh almost stopped him in that second round. He looked great for the first two rounds. The last three rounds, the championship rounds after the third, because I gave Brandon 10-9 in the third. So going into the fourth, I had 2-1 for Lonnie Kavanaugh. The fourth round was much like the third. Brandon was really using that front leg, single leg, to put Kavanaugh against the cage, against the fence, worked the quads inside and out. He landed a short elbow in there. But Herb Dean is in there just like, work, we got to work. What do you mean you got to work? He has a body lock and he's landing shots. It's up to Kavanaugh to get out of that position. It's not on Brandon. It's up to Kavanaugh, and Brandon Moreno has a dominant position. He's working with the knees. He's waiting to shut Kavanaugh over to get to that backside full body lock to maybe drag him down into a backpack position. But Kavanaugh wasn't doing anything. And you could see on the commentary, you could hear on the commentary, Bisping and Cinco are saying that Kavanaugh needs to fish for that right side underhook and then explode in and turn Brandon Moreno. He wasn't doing that. So it's not on Brandon Moreno to have to do more than what he was doing, because he had the better position with the body lock and he was working the knees. And Herb Dean's over there clapping, talking about work. Like it's up to Kavanaugh to work. And you can't he broke the fight. He broke the position in that fourth round, which gave Kavanaugh the advantage because he was the one that was pinned against the fence. You know, it's up to him to make the job, to do the work to get off the fence, not Brandon Moreno's job. So I didn't like that separation. They separate him. Lonnie Kavanaugh lands a huge, big calf kick that you could see Moreno really didn't wear it well. Like his calf was already busted up after the first round. So that was a big kick that was, you know, it was a damaging blow on the side of Lonnie Kavanaugh. But after that, Moreno does the same thing, scoops up that single leg, puts him back up against the fence, is working him, controlling the time. He probably had 3.5 minutes of control time against the fence where he's just landing consistent knees inside and outside. The round ends. It goes into the fifth. Kavanaugh's corner is telling him he's up 4-0. You know, I had it even going into the fifth. I might have had Moreno down depending on the scoring of the second round. It could have been a 10-8, but I scored it 10-9. So I had it even going into the fifth. And then the fifth round, Kavanaugh has a great jab. He's landing good on the jab. Moreno comes out, lands a right hand on a big left hook, puts Kavanaugh against the fence, scoops down for that single leg again, jaw under, or crown of the head under the jaw, and it's more of the same with the third and the fourth round where he's working the inside of the knee, outside of the knee. The fifth round, he actually gets Kavanaugh to turn to his back. Right before he does that, Herb Dean again, clapping his hands. We got to work, guys. We got to work. He's got the dominant position. He finally shucks Lonnie Kavanaugh's left shoulder over, gets to his back. Kavanaugh reaches back to fish for a wizard to turn face again, and Moreno lands a good left elbow inside, and then Kavanaugh lands a big right hand outside to get back to distance. And that's when Kavanaugh starts shooting the jab again. Moreno counters with a right hand, get back against the fence, single leg, back into dominant position again, and that's how the rest of the round ended. I scored the fifth for Moreno, 10-9. So my final score, I had it 48-47 for Moreno. I could have seen it a draw if the judges scored it 10-8, the second round for Kavanaugh. But I'm looking at the judges' scorecards. They had one judge, Mike Bell, had the first 2 rounds for Kavanaugh, third round for Moreno, fourth round for Kavanaugh, fifth round for Moreno. Moreno didn't do anything different in the fourth that he did in the third and the fifth, other than that calf kick that landed by Lonnie Kavanaugh. Maybe that was enough to sway him because it did do damage. But that should have been 3 rounds, the 3, 4, and 5 from Moreno. Then you have judge number 2, Ben Cartledge. First 2 rounds, all 3 judges had the first 2 rounds for Kavanaugh, as I did. He had Moreno winning the third round, winning the fourth round, and then losing the fifth round, which I thought Moreno did just as much work in the fifth as he did the third. And then we had the last judge, Saul D'Amato, who is a boxing judge. He gave Kavanaugh the first, second, fourth, and fifth. He gave Brandon Moreno the third. Brandon Moreno did the same work in the fourth and the fifth as he did the third. So why didn't he get the scores, the winning scores of the 10 in the fourth and the fifth? I don't know. That's just how I look at it. And I thought Kavanaugh looked absolutely great in the first 2 rounds. This is not me being my Mexican bias towards Brandon Moreno, even though I like him. I thought Kavanaugh was going to stop him in the second. I could have saw Kavanaugh winning a 10-8 round. And if the scores went as I scored it, I could have seen it a draw. But I think Michael Bisping, who is English and he really likes Lonnie Kavanaugh, he was even saying in the fifth that he thought that Moreno needed a finish to win the fight. I didn't see all that. I didn't think Lonnie Kavanaugh won a round after the second round. I thought Moreno won the third, fourth, and fifth because he did the exact same thing in the third, fourth, and fifth, you know, and they have one judge giving him the third, another judge giving him the third and fourth, and then they don't give him the fifth. One judge had him at the third and the fifth. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's the angles where the judges are sitting. I knew Saul D'Amato wasn't going to give him any round outside of the third because it was the most dominant round for Moreno. Because Saul D'Amato is a boxing judge. I don't know how much he knows about grappling. But outside of the big calf kick in the fourth round and the jab in the fifth round, Lonnie Kavanaugh did not post a lot of damage in the last 3 rounds. Whereas if you're not scoring damage, the next one comes to control and pressure. Moreno had more control time in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, landed more shots in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th than Lonnie Kavanaugh. So I don't know what else they were scoring this on. And this is not me being a hater for Lonnie Kavanaugh, because I thought he was going to get the job done in the 2nd round. I thought he looked great the first 2 rounds. I think the elevation really hurt him in the last 3 rounds. But that's how I had the fight 48-47 for Brandon Moreno. That's just how I had it. I don't know how you guys had it, but that's how I had it. It was a good fight. It was a close fight. I think it could have went either way, depending on how they scored. But I just didn't see. I think I could see them giving 10-9 for Kavanaugh in the 4th round, because he did land damage with that calf kick that almost dropped Brandon. Like he felt it, and he was trying not to show it, but it hurt, because the next 45 seconds he just circled around trying to pump some blood in that calf so that he didn't go down. I could see it that way, but just my scoring, I had Moreno winning 48-47. Let's go to the co-main event. Marlon Vera, Chito Vera versus David Martinez. It was a unanimous decision for Martinez. It was 29-28 on all 3 judges' scorecards. I love Chito Vera, man, but he did exactly what we all knew he was going to do. He moved forward, but he just doesn't throw enough volume. And Martinez clearly won the 1st round. The 2nd round was close. There was times in there where Chito was landing good shots, but Martinez's movement and his blitz, Chito Vera threw that kick. Martinez caught the kick and then swept the back foot out, kept him on the ground for a little bit. Chito Vera scrambles back up. I had Martinez winning the 1st and 2nd, and then I had Chito winning the 3rd. He was coming on strong towards the last minute, but he just didn't do enough in the first 2 rounds. He just didn't do enough, and his coach is just telling him between rounds, look, man, you're not going to get a decision here in Mexico City. You got to do more. Jason Perillo is telling him, you have to do more, Chito. You got to throw more punches. You can't throw one at a time. And he's begging him the first 2 rounds. He goes out and does it in the 3rd, but he doesn't do anything in the first 2 rounds. He's not cutting him off, even though that's easier to say than it is to do, because Martinez has great footwork and just skates around the cage effortlessly. But Chito just needs to do more, and that's his 4th straight loss. I don't think he'll get cut, because the UFC likes that Ecuador market, and he is the biggest face of Ecuador. So I think he'll stay on, but he needs to get a win in his next fight for sure. David Martinez is no joke. He's a hard puzzle to figure out because of the movement, his Taekwondo and karate background, and it was in Mexico City. So I think if it was close, he might have got the nod anyways. But that's me saying that when Moreno had a close fight and he didn't get the nod. So that was my opinion on the co-main event. The feature fight, Daniel Cejudo versus King Green. If you guys saw my breakdown, I wanted to go King Green on this fight, but I just decided to go Daniel Cejudo. He was a minus 500. His last fight versus Michael Johnson, he was a minus 400. This fight versus King Green, he's a minus 500. And he lets you down the last 3 times. I'm not going to be able to pick Daniel Cejudo anymore. I'm sorry, he's Mexicano, but still, I can't, man. And he had opportunities, but King Green, man, he caught him with that counter right hand that you could see when it rocked him. Cejudo's soul left his body. I don't know how he went down after that shot, and then King Green jumps on him, finishes him, TKO, 4 minutes, 55 seconds into the 2nd round. Shout out to King Green, man. He deserved that victory, and Daniel Cejudo needs to do something. He might need to switch training camps or get a mental coach, because he does not look like the same Daniel Cejudo who fought Ribovics at the Sphere, who went to absolute war. He was willing to take shots and punishment in that fight, and his last 2 fights, maybe it's the speed factor from both guys, because Michael Johnson and King Green look vastly faster than him, have great boxing, both those guys. Maybe that's his trouble, but he needs to make adjustments or he's going to be on the chopping block, because we have a lot of Mexican fighters in the UFC, so nothing is going to make him stand out as special when you got all these other guys from Mexico that are fighting their asses off. He might get the chop if he's not careful. Next fight down, Edgar Chairez versus Felipe Bunes. This was a really good fight. It was a split decision. 2 judges had it 29-28 for Chairez. One judge had it 29-28 for Bunes. It was a good fight. I had Chairez winning the first round. In the third round, I had Bunes winning the second round. No, I had Bunes winning the first round and then Chairez winning the second and third. But this was a good fight, man. But Chairez, he barely got out of there, man, because it could have easily went 29-28 for Bunes. But it was a good showing, a good win for him in Mexico City. Shout out Edgar Chairez, man. Another big win for him. The next fight down, DC's boy, Manuel Rodriguez, was in big trouble in the first round versus Kevin Borjas. Kevin Borjas had this fool almost out. I mean, out. If it wouldn't have been for the wrestling for Manuel Rodriguez, because he was almost out on his feet, Borjas overextends. They clash. Manuel Rodriguez grabs a body lock, lifts, scoops to the left, the outside leg out, lands, and then stifles him out there. But, man, this was a close fight. You could see Borjas emptied the tank when he had him hurt because he was sucking wind big time between rounds. And then Rodriguez got back to work, finishes him TKO at 4:21 in the second, man. Big win for Manuel Rodriguez. I think he's going to be a problem at flyweight as long as they build him up slowly and don't rush him into big fights. Shout out Manuel Rodriguez. The first opening fight on the main card, Santiago Luna, man. This kid is 21 years old. Man, he looked great against a tough opponent, Angel Pacheco. It went to a decision. Santiago Luna wins unanimous decision, 30-20, 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards. Angel Pacheco was just outmatched in this fight. Even though he stayed in there, he had good boxing. But even Pacheco, after the first round, he stood up after the first round, hands on his head, and was sucking wind. That elevation is no joke in Mexico City. Santiago Luna, though, had a flawless performance. And he tried to get Pacheco out of there. And there was times where he landed big shots. But that just shows the toughness of Angel Pacheco, man, in this fight. But shout out Santiago Luna. Great win for him. The main fight on the prelims, Ryan Gondra from Brazil versus Jose Daniel Medina from Bolivia. This guy, I think it's the UFC that wants to keep that Bolivian market, but he gets sparked 41 seconds into the first round. I believe he was the favorite, Medina was. But Gondra gets him out of there, smokes him early. He comes out of the gate, just starts throwing big combinations, hurts Medina, lands a short right hand inside, drops Medina, finishes him. Medina was like, protesting the stoppage, but he was out, and Gondra deserved that win. Shout out to Ryan Gondra from Brazil. The next fight that was probably the closest on the odds was Eileen Perez versus Macy Chiasson, and this was a big thing if Chiasson was going to make the weight. She's a Dallas girl. She makes the weight. She had a great first round, absolutely dominated Eileen Perez in the first round on the ground. And in the second round, the tide starts to turn. Eileen Perez starting to put more pressure, gets big takedowns. Chiasson went for a big throw. She misses it. Perez lands in full guard, full mount, starts landing big shots, elbows. And she does the same thing in the third round. Eileen Perez gets a big win, calls out Tracy Cortez after. Man, Eileen Perez versus Tracy Cortez, the battle of the bumpers. I would love to see it. Everyone knows how I feel about Tracy Cortez. So that'd be a great fight. Eileen Perez versus Tracy Cortez would be a great fight. I had to go with La Mexicana on that one, Tracy Cortez. But I like Eileen Perez, man. And this was a big test for her against a girl, Macy Chiasson, who was previously ranked in the top 10 at bantamweight. So quality win for her. Next fight down, Christian Quinones versus Chris Moutinho. Why is Chris Moutinho still in the UFC? I don't like to badmouth anyone and bash people on purpose, but goddamn, man, Chris Moutinho does not belong at this level. He got absolutely worked for 3 rounds. Couldn't do anything. Like, Christian Quinones did everything he wanted to do except for get him out of there. Chris Moutinho is a tough dude. He could take damage, but he does not belong in the UFC. Get him out of there. You're just taking years off his life for him to just take a beating after beating after beating. Quality, I don't even want to say quality win for Christian Quinones because I think I know guys on the regional scene right now who could step in and beat Chris Moutinho. but Chrissy Quinones gets the win. Next fight down, Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Javier Reyes from Colombia. Andrade from Brazil. He's like 40 years old, 41-year-old. Big right hand, drops Reyes in the first round and almost gets him out of there. Reyes makes it out, or weathers the storm, comes back, starts putting work on Andrade, takes him down, gets to his back, flattens him out. He's landing big shots with the 10-second clap just goes off, and he finishes him right at the buzzer. 4 minutes, 59 seconds in the first round. Quality win to Javier Reyes. Man, that was huge. Big win for Colombia. Before I go to the next fight down, which is Regina Tarin versus Ernesta Carcachi, I want to go back up to the Eileen Perez Macy Chiasson fight. I don't know who the ref was for this fight, but it was the worst referee I've ever seen in all my years of fights. Other than like the Mario Yamasaki's, the, oh man, what's his name? Dan Miragliotta had some controversial non-stoppages when he should have. I'm thinking of the guy, the Italian guy, Merzagatti, Dan Merzagatti, with the Brock Lesnar Frank Mir fight where Lesnar's tapping for like 30 seconds to the knee bar. But this ref, every time he got to the ground, he was telling them to work and would stand them up. Eileen Perez has Macy Chiasson in a half guard, top half guard. She's landing short shots. She's transitioning from top half guard to Macy Chiasson's back to get to a backpack position and drop in another hook, and the referee stands him up. And then he's just constantly, throughout this fight, when it's on the ground, constantly telling him to work or he's going to stand him up. He did it like 3 or 4 times when Eileen Perez was in dominant positions on the top. I don't know where they got this referee, but he never needs to referee another fight, at least not at the UFC level, ever again. That's what I had to say on that fight, because I couldn't leave that out. That guy fucking sucked, and he should never referee another fight in MMA. So I'm back down. Regina Tarin versus Ernesta Carcachi. This was a great fight. This probably could have been fight of the night outside of... I'll probably say that was fight of the night. I hope they got $100,000. That was a great fight. It was back and forth, back and forth. Both girls going to absolute war, trading shots in the pocket. And Regina Tarin gets a unanimous decision. She did the better work, but man, this Ernesta Carcachi from Lithuania, man, she was a dog in there. I hope they both got performance bonuses, man, because this was a great fight. And it was like the third fight on the prelim card. That's the first fight I watched because I was leaving work, so I didn't see the Eric Silva Francis Marshall fight. I saw that Marshall won by submission, but I didn't actually get to physically watch it. And then I saw highlights of Damian Pinas versus Wes Schultz, which was the opener. Pinas drops Wes Schultz 3 times, or 2 times in that very first round. He keeps letting him back up before he just gets fucking sent to hell with that big right 1-2 that splits the guard that sends Schultz down for the 3rd time and out. It was a KO victory. Big win for Damian Pinas. This guy is, if he can keep stacking wins, he might find himself in the top 15 in the middleweight division coming pretty soon. So that's my rundown of Mexico City card. It was a great night, a great night of fights, man. I told you guys this on the preview that on paper it was like I had it as a number 3 or 4 out of 10 because of all the unranked guys and the big point spreads. But man, I would have to give it a 7, man. Like a solid 7, 7.5, man. With all the finishes, there was what? There was, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 finishes on this card, which is not a bad card, man. And they were good fights. Even the ones that were not finishes were pretty good back and forth until they weren't. But yeah, I'd give it a solid 6.5, 7.5 for this card, Mexico City. We're going to see what happens now with Brandon Moreno moving forward. He was at number 6. Lonnie Kavanaugh was not ranked, so I don't know if he's going to jump. He will definitely jump into the top 10 after this win, and then we'll see what happens to Moreno, how far he drops in the top 10, and what's next for him. So that's it for me for Mexico City Fight Night. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications. Thank you guys once again for always watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace!